you're a footwear designer, actually scratch that. If you're in the footwear industry at all, I was in the footwear industry for a bit as a corporate shill, but if you're in that industry and you want to have a career in that industry and you have a resume where you've worked with the likes of Charles Barkley, Kevin Garnett, Scottie Pippen, LeBron James, you pretty much never have to apply for a job in the industry again. You will never have to update your resume. People will come flocking to you. They'll want you to work for their company. And that is exactly what EQLZ, a relatively new brand that started in 2018 based in China, that's exactly what they did with legendary designer Aaron Cooper. That was the list of athletes that he worked with and designed shoes for. They worked with Aaron Cooper to design their first performance basketball shoe. And just a quick note, I'm not sure if it's EQLZ or Equals or Equalize. I feel like all three of them work, but Aaron Cooper himself in an interview with Complex referred to it as EQLZ. So that's what I'm gonna say for the rest of this video. EQLZ 24/7 Mako. Now, if you're unfamiliar with EQLZ, especially if you're in the United States, just a quick background, they began in 2018 by a group of basketball enthusiasts, and they are based out of China. So for their first performance basketball shoe, they're working with Aaron Cooper, who worked at Nike for over 2 decades. If you're into sneakers at all, you'll know that name, and they brought out this shoe. Now, before I even go into the intro of my review, I'm going to just mention right here that EQLZ actually sent me this shoe. So they reached out to me via email and they asked me if I was interested in getting a pair of shoes to review. I'm not getting any money from this review. I'm not getting a slice of every unit sold, nothing. No money was exchanged. Literally, they sent me this in a box and a few pairs of socks, and they asked me if I wanted to review it. I actually told them to not run any ads on my review when it does come out, even though using their money to run ads on my video will definitely help me in terms of my exposure. But I didn't want that. They're fine to share a link to this review and whatever organic reach it does, I'm happy with it. So in the spirit of full transparency, definitely had to let that be known. And as you'll see, there are 1 or 2 things that I think could be slightly better on this shoe. So just because they sent me this shoe does not sway my opinion of how I felt about the shoe and how I'm going to review it. Here we go. So this shoe dropped on September 7th for $150 in the United States. They do ship globally. So if you live in the US, even though it's a Chinese brand, you can still get it. And first impressions of this shoe, I think this is a good looking shoe. I really do. I think this can actually work as a casual shoe as well. It's kind of minimal and it's very sleek, and the colors on the shoe, it is a very nice colorway. This Mako colorway is one of the best that they've released so far. For me personally, the best was actually the green. That was probably my favorite, and this would have been my second favorite colorway. The Eclipse, the all black one, the all white one, all the colorways look super sleek on the shoe. That is a huge credit to the designers of this shoe. Yeah, very, very well done. And the upper of this shoe, there's a mix of materials. So obviously you see that knitting mixed with full grain leather. And the leather actually for a basketball shoe in 2024, it is pretty nice. I'm not gonna say it is like the best leather in the world or anything, but on an $150 basketball shoe in 2024, it's a pretty nice surprise. And the knitting of the shoe, I'll get to lock down later. But the knitting is pretty sturdy and tough, so that always helps with upper containment. And you see there's no real like tongue on the shoe. It extends all the way up to the ankles. So the ankle collar here, there is no padding, and that is definitely inspired by Aaron Cooper's obsession, his self-actually admitted obsession with creating a basketball shoe that really is an extension of the foot, just basically like a sock. And I will say, this bit does feel nice. I've said it before in performance review shoes that I do prefer high-cut basketball shoes. It's kind of what I grew up playing in. So this whole popularity towards low-cut shoes, I like them, but I've never really been 300% on board. It's mainly placebo. I just like feeling something on my ankles where it gives me the illusion or sense of lockdown and support in that area of the shoe, because it is just like elastic netting up there. But I do like how it feels around that area. Compare that to the tongue that you see on the Kobe 9 Elites. That also extends very high up onto my ankles. However, the materials on that shoe wrapped around, it can get very sweaty. It just does not feel that nice. Feels kind of gross after like 20 minutes of playing ball in them. So this material kind of soaks up the sweat, and it also provides some type of insulation. So I really actually like that. And then on the booty of the shoe, you see a pull tab that actually helps with getting your feet in. Usually just from a design perspective, I don't love pull tabs. I think it kind of gets in the way. But as an old man, I use them more and more lately, and I actually do like the functionality of that. And then you also see EQLZ 24/7 branding on the ankle collar, and you see that extended onto the outsole as well. Now this shoe does not come with any extra laces, just these blue laces out of the box. I think it fits pretty well with the upper. I would have liked an extra set of laces. I think white laces would really make this shoe pop. It'll look very nice. However, blue laces out of the box. And the EQLZ 24/7 comes with super critical Pebax foam that is housed within like a firm EVA midsole. And the cushioning setup, it is very good. So if you didn't know, super critical foam basically refers to a manufacturing process. So they'll inject a type of liquid, usually it's nitrogen or like CO2 into the foam. And once the temperature and the pressure of the fluid reaches a certain point, the super critical point, hence the name, and enters the polymers that are found in the foam that creates like bubbles and pockets. And essentially what it results in is a lightweight type of cushioning setup, gives you good energy return as well as responsiveness. A lot of running shoes uses the supercritical foam type of process and manufacturing, and the cushioning, it is really good. It really is. It is plush, but not super plush, where you kind of feel like your feet's getting stuck with how soft the cushioning is, and the kinetic energy return as well as the bounciness of the shoe. It honestly is outstanding. I don't really have any complaints. When I was young, I would play in shoes that just had really firm kind of cushioning. I didn't really want like softer cushioned shoes, but as I get older, my legs and knees are just damaged over time. I do prefer slightly softer cushioning setups, and this one strikes a really good balance. I will say it is not like the most low profile feeling shoe, so if you really like a very flat to the ground kind of shoe where you like feel the court, I don't feel like this shoe will give you what you need. And now onto the outsole and the traction of the shoe. This rubber outsole, it is outstanding. It really is. Usually I kind of default to herringbone traction being the best. It's just tried and true. Really like herringbone traction, but this one is just as good. This outsole pattern is actually inspired by shark fins. So you see these little kind of, I don't know what to call them, but these little units, these little round circle nubs. They're actually individual nubs connected by like a thin web and actually move based on the pressure map of a human's foot. And you see that foam poking out on the outsole. You can actually touch it. It's quite squishy. And honestly, it has so much bite. Get it? Shark fin, bite. I can't say enough good things about the traction of this shoe. And traction is the one feature of a basketball shoe that I prioritize over anything else, even over cushioning. As a guard that is a more lightweight player, when I'm driving to the basket, cutting and doing movements like that, I really need good traction. If there's a slightly dirtier gym and I don't have shoes with really good traction, I basically don't even want to play. That's how much I value it. And the traction on these, outstanding. I can't think of a shoe off the top of my head. Maybe the Kobe 9s, that's pretty close. That's outstanding traction as well. But I can't think of a shoe that exceeds this shoe in terms of the overall traction. And one thing I will have to point out, as a black sneaker lover, I can't even take myself seriously, but I do like that they stuffed the shoe with black paper. Yeah, usually it's just like that kind of paper color. Black paper, love it. And the insole of the shoe, there's actually like a grip pattern on it, and you definitely feel that as you're putting your feet into this shoe. And in terms of the quality and materials of this insole, the overall feel on feet, that feels good. And the box of the shoe, pretty simple. EQLZ branding with this cardboard box. That's one complaint that I do have. I don't love this kind of cardboard box design where it looks, I don't know what the word is, but like industrial maybe? It's very like recyclable, if you know what I mean. I would have liked a more or better designed box. EQLZ branding on the side, and it says, born with nothing, equalized with everything. And you get a little card with simplified Chinese on it that says, born with nothing, equalized with everything. I grew up reading traditional Chinese because I'm from Taiwan. That's what we use. That's what my parents taught me. But I can still read the simplified Chinese. Yeah, can use this as like a bookmark or something. Now moving on to sizing, fit, and lockdown. I am a wide and flat footer for the shoe. Obviously, I have no idea how to size it. Never worn it before. First time wearing it, I went true to size. And I will say there was a little bit of empty space in the toe box area. So I do recommend if you don't have wide and flat feet, just go down half a size. For wide footers, it's kind of hard to get a perfectly sized basketball sneaker a lot of times. If you go true to size, it might be too wide or too much room in some areas. You go down half a size, arch area and width-wise, and it just break your feet. No perfect solution a lot of the times. So for this shoe, a little bit of empty space in the toe box area. Now in terms of overall fit and lockdown, as well as the support of the shoe, is a TPU layer on the upper of the shoe. So that works really well in terms of containment. There were times where I was like pushing off the left or right leg. I could literally feel the toes just like stopping. It was like hitting a wall. It didn't hurt, like not in a bad way, but it was so contained that I didn't feel any kind of extra lateral movement. So this TPU containment both on the lateral and medial sides just really helps in terms of side-to-side movement. And you also see the shoe has a pretty wide base, so that creates a lot of friction and contact with the surface that you're playing in. And that also helps with side-to-side containment. Overall lockdown of the shoe, it is great. I don't believe the shoe has a shank plate, but honestly, in terms of the kinetic energy return, just from the cushioning setup, it's already very good. Torsional rigidity, I feel very supported just from the TPU and the upper of the shoe. The heel counter, I will say it's not like the stiffest, the most solid heel counter, but as a light player, I didn't really have any problems in that area of my foot. And in terms of the support on the ankles, I mentioned this before, I touched on it. This is more of a placebo than anything. And as someone that always has preferred higher cut basketball shoes, that placebo works for me. Even though I know it's placebo, I do like having a piece of material around that area of my foot. And one thing I will say, it is not like the most lightweight basketball shoe. If weight concerns are a huge priority for you when you play ball, yeah, maybe look somewhere else. However, for me, I've said this in videos before, I don't really mind a basketball shoe with some weight. I actually don't like super lightweight shoes where you're barely feeling anything on feet. Kind of feels weird. I want to feel like something's on my foot when I'm doing explosive movements. Again, more of a placebo thing, but that's what works for me. But if a super lightweight shoe is your first priority, yeah, definitely try these if you can first on feet to see if it suits you. Now, usually for casual and retro sneakers, I give it a sole score. For a basketball performance sneaker, I don't give it a sole score. The metrics don't really make too much sense. However, I can give the shoe a final verdict. These are outstanding, truly. For a first shoe from a brand that a lot of Americans or people that live in the US aren't too aware of, but these are really good. Are they as good as the Sabrina 2s? Probably my favorite basketball sneaker this year. Those and the AE ones. I'll be honest. I think number one for me is probably still the Sabrina 2s. I just think that fit every criteria that I have in a basketball sneaker. But performance-wise, for me personally, I think this is right up there with the AE ones. I think this is slightly more plush in terms of the cushioning than the AE ones. I actually think this has slightly better traction. I think the AE ones probably fit my feet slightly better. But it's hard to choose. Any day of the week, give me either one, honestly, and I wouldn't be disappointed. I really wouldn't. I've complained a lot recently about Nike basketball shoes. I just feel like it's kind of been uninspiring for the past 5 to 8 to maybe even a decade. I grew up loving the 2K3s, 2K4s, 2K5s, the Hyperdunks, obviously Kobe's shoes, and lately it's just not hitting the right spot, apart from the Sabrina 2s. Love those. And that's kind of left a gap for a shoe like the AE1s to really fill in that void. I definitely think if this company can keep up this type of performance for their basketball sneakers, they can start to fill a little bit of that void as well. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Sole Inclined. Let me know what you think of the EQLZ 24/7 Mako. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.